Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. And today I have a series of 3 cards for you using the BOHO Indigo kit, and we're going to do a Simple to Simply Stunning series on this card. And so let's just get started. Okay, here is my first card, and we are using the BOHO Indigo stamp set, photopolymer set, and in this one I'm using this vase, these little flowers, some of the designer series paper in the designer series paper pack that comes with this stamp set, this paper pack here that has all kinds of beautiful designs. And with this one we are using this sheet. It has these flowers on the back, that's pretty too, but we're using this to use this little strip here, which is the only other thing we're using besides the stamps, and a few of our rhinestones from the holiday rhinestone collection. And so that's what we're using for this one. And so for this one I have a very vanilla card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And then I've got a 1 1/4 inch strip of this material, and that's what we're going to use to make this card. So let me set that aside and move on to the second card. So on this card we're also using this same paper, and I have cut a background on this 4 by 5 1/4 out of this. Actually, then this piece came from here for this other card, and then I have a small strip that is 2 3/8 of an inch here. I've got some of our denim ribbon on here, and we have 3 of those vases with a little bit more elaborate decoration here and a raised sentiment. And on this one, what we have on the inside decoration is a matted 3 3/4 by 5 piece of very vanilla on Night of Navy that is 4 by 5 1/4. So I am using that same card base that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. Then I've got one piece of Night of Navy that's 4 by 5 1/4, and 2 pieces of very vanilla that are 3 3/4 by 5. One piece of this designer series paper that is 4 by 5 1/4. This strip of that same paper that is 2 3/8 of an inch, and then we'll cut it down to size. Now I am using one of the labels that come with this. It doesn't look like this when it gets started, but I've trimmed mine down so that we get the same effect as we do on this card. So that is what we're using for this one, and that is the second card that we're going to create. And then the third card we're going to create is this one, and this one is embossed in gold embossing powder, and then it's got 3 of those flowers on the top, and then it's using the ribbon that comes in this kit, this dark Night of Navy ribbon, and then I'm using from the Forever Greenery package this gold cord here, and then I'm using sentiments from this this kit, and then the inside of this card is matted, and then these 3 flowers are put down and embossed in Night of Navy and gold embossing powder. And I'll show you how to get an embossed image without using embossing powder. You can make your embossing be any color you want. So that is the 3 cards that we're going to make, and I thought this time, I hope the video isn't too long, we're going to try and make all 3 cards on this video. Sometimes that feels like a bit much, but I'm going to give it a try. Okay, so let's get back to our initial very first card, and that is this one. And so I have my Pierce mat, because this is photopolymer, and I have my stamp set. And what I'm going to do is just measure here how far up I have that vase. It looks to be started at about a little under 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is take this ruler and mark 1 3/8 inches and put a tick mark there and put a tick mark here, and then I'm going to draw a very faint line, and that is just so that I have a little line there to line up my stamping of my jars and have them the way I'd like. Now, the ink that I'm using for all of these cards is either Misty Moonlight or Night of Navy. And I did Misty Moonlight on this, and I think I'm going to try Night of Navy because it's so much more crisp with this image. So I know that I'm going to stamp this 3 times. And my experience on this is that if you stamp one, oh, the beauty of photopolymer, it tells you whether or not you're completely inked up. And I hope I don't get my head in the view here, but I'm going to set the bottom of this little piece of vase as close to the top of that line as I can get. So, and I'm going to set it right over here so that it is, oh, I'd say that that's a little more than 1/4 inch away from the edge. See how much more crisp that looks? Okay, so now I'm going to try and do the same thing on this side, in about that far and right on the top of that line. And what that allows me to do is when I go to stamp my one in the middle, I don't have to worry about trying to gauge the middle. All I have to do is stamp it between these two. So I'm going to pick a spot that's between those two and right on that line, and I'm going to stamp this last vase right down here, and there we have our 3 vases stamped. Now I have these 3 flowers, and I'm going to stamp those 3 flowers over the top of this one vase right here. And with that measurement that we did from the bottom, it allows you to have plenty of room to stamp your flower. And there we go, there's our flower. Now I'm going to take that strip of paper that we have here, and it looks like it's almost too much. What the beauty of putting the line down there is I know that that's straight across there. Well, that's not very much margin down here, and I'm not sure I'm going to be very happy with that. So I think I'm going to take my trimmer and I'm going to cut a little bit of this off. I'm going to cut, oh, maybe 1/4 inch off of this piece of paper, and I think that'll look a lot more balanced on the page. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is these aren't stamped necessarily evenly across here. So I'm just going to pick this up and come up into the vase and cover up this bottom piece that the vase sits on all 3. And there it makes my vases look like they're more even. So I'm going to add some Snail, or some, what do they call this stuff? Seal, to the back of my designer series paper, and put that in place across here, coming up to the very bottom, flush with this end of the card. and along the very bottom of the vases there and across here. Then I can trim this for a perfect fit. And there we go. There's our pieces. Now we have another piece to stamp, and my stamp, I thought it was kind of cute since it's all in blue, says sorry you're feeling blue. And so I'm going to take that and I'm going to stamp that right up here between these two vases as straight as I can. There we go. Now, on the inside of this card, I just have one more of these vases stamped right down here in the corner. And then one set of these flowers as though they had fallen away from the vase right down here next to that vase. Oh, doggone it. So when that happens to you, you can take a little bit of your ink and a blender pen and blend that right in. And nobody will be the wiser. Okay, so there we go. That is our, and those you need to just make sure when you ink up, you look at it and you make sure that that is shiny and covered with ink all over before you go stamping down. Okay, so there we have the basics of this card. Now we're going to take a couple of these little holiday rhinestones, the basic holiday rhinestone basic jewels, and they've got this pretty dark blue, and I'm going to put one of these little rhinestones in the center of each of these flowers, and then I'm going to take two more rhinestones and put one on either side of my sentiment, and there you have it. That is our basic card done, and I do like it, I think, better with the Night of Navy than I do with the Misty Moonlight, because this just looks faded, and this looks nice and crisp. And there we go, a one-layer card with our sentiment on it. So that is the first card. Now moving on to the second card, you can imagine that we're going to do that exact same thing. I'm going to measure up here where this paper is going to go, and let's check and see how far up I came, because I have 3 of those, and sure enough it's 1 3/8 inch. So I'm going to take this piece of 3 3¾ by 5 paper and put my mark on here for 3 3/4 inch on one end, and then the others 1 3/8, pardon me, 1 3/8 inch. And then I'm going to draw a faint line, and then when you put your paper down, if you just inch up over your pencil drawing, you don't even need to take off your pencil mark, because on this one that we did, you can't see the pencil mark that I used, and you won't see it on this one either. So we're going to start out the same way. We are going to ink up this vase, and there's lots of vases that you can use out of this set, but I was kind of fond of this one, and I'm going to do that one down here. See if I can get a little closer to the line on these. Not really. Okay. Here we go. And then again, having done those on the ends, all I really have to do for symmetry is get this one beneath the 2 of them, or in between the 2 of them. And so there is our second one. And it looks like I could use a little bit of extra blue right down here on the bottom of 2 of these. And there we go. All right. Now on this one, I have a much smaller piece of paper that is 3/8 of an inch. And if I come right up on this one and put that right about there, just covering up my line, then I have just enough room on this paper to put my line of seal and put this down across the bottom of my vases. There we go. And then I'll trim those sides off. Then there we go. Now I'm going to do that same thing, and I'm going to ink these up, these flowers, and I'm going to put them right on the top of those vases. You really should put that down a little bit further so those flowers fit a little bit more succinctly. There we go. All right, so there's my flowers. And then for this area down here, we need a piece of our denim ribbon, and we need a piece that is about that long, and it looks like I cut it going this way. And let's make sure that still fits. Looks like it could trim down just a hair. And there we go. So on this, what I'm going to do is add some of my dot runner on the back of this ribbon and put that into place right down here on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to take this label from the labels that have been supplied, and on this one I put the message of sorry you're feeling blue on this one as well. So here is my sorry you're feeling blue, and I'm going to, pardon my head if it gets in the middle here, I'm going to try and stamp that right on the center of that label. There we go. And on this, what I'm going to do, just make sure it's dry, and I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals. And on these, where they're narrow, I put one at the top and 2 along the bottom, and that way, because if you put them all along one row, sometimes they can rock back and forth on that, on the row of dimensionals. And when you put them this way, then you just don't have that issue. Okay, so I'm going to get this all ready to go, and I'm going to stick that right down here on my silicone mat, because that's nice and sticky now. And let's see, what do we have stamped on the inside of this? We just have this card, and we just have the vase. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll make sure I've got that completely inked up, that one corner that was a little shy last time. And I'll put my pierce mat back down and do that one vase right down here in the corner. There we go. All right, so now all we have to do is mat and put this card together. So on this piece, it's going to go on my 4 by 5 1/4 Night of Navy piece, and on this one, I just want to make sure that's dry. So let's put the other piece on while we're waiting. So this piece gets matted on this piece. So I will run my seal along here and put that down right on this piece of paper there, like that. And then that is ready to go down on the front of our card. And so I will put my seal on that and set this card down here. Then I'm going to take my sentiment and put that in place basically in the center of this, so that part of it's on this, some of it's on this, and in this case I'm going to leave a little vanilla border on the bottom. And there you go. Now on this one, what I did was I used my gilded gems, and I did gilded gems on the centers of these flowers. And there we go. That card is now finished. Well, except for this piece that we have to put on the inside. So I will add some seal to this. Right here, matted on my Night of Navy. There's something so beautiful about Night of Navy and Very Vanilla. It's a lovely combination. That on the inside, and that card is done. Okay. Now this next card is our one that's a little over the top. And so I will bring that one in, and we know from experience on this one that that 1 3/8 inch from the bottom cramps that just a little bit. So I'm going to come down to 1 1/4 and put my mark, and 1 1/4 and put my mark, and draw my little pencil line right across those two marks. And now I've got a little line to line up my stamping. All right, now this we're going to use embossing, so I'm using my embossing buddy here to cover my card. Then I've got my Versamark ink, and I've got my stamp with my vase on it that I'm going to clean off first and get rid of as much of that ink as I possibly can. The same thing with my flowers. Then this one is going to go into the Versamark, and again I'm going to try to get it down closer to that line. That's pretty good, I think. And then this one on this side, kind of closer to the line, and then one in the middle between those two images. And I think I did reasonably well. We're about to find out. I have my gold embossing powder and a spoon, and we're going to see how close I got on those vases. Did a little bit better on this one than I did on the navy blue, in that they're a little bit closer to the line. And there we've got our embossing powder on. Now I'm going to take a second and I will quiet the video while I heat set the vases. Okay, there are my vases, Then the next stamping I'm going to do are my flowers. And we'll need this Versamark again, but not right now. Right now I will need my Night of Navy ink and put my navy flowers over the top. I love the contrast of the gold and the navy. And so I'm going to put my flowers right over the top edge of the vases. Oh, I'm not doing that on my got away with it. Let me bring back my Pierce mat. And you'll notice I'm even overlapping a little bit onto the neck of the vase on that one. And so there we go. And one more set on here. And then for this one, on the inside, we are going to do some more embossing. So I am using my embossing buddy all down this right side of the card. And because powder goes everywhere, I like to cover the whole card. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I am using these flowers again, and I'll be using my gold embossing powder and my clear embossing powder. Now this is how you get an embossed color when you don't have embossing powder. So what I'm going to do is clean off this stamp really well and get all of that blue powder or blue ink off. Okay, and you'll notice that on this card, what I have done is alternated blue and gold embossing. So what I'm going to do is have both my Versamark and my Night of Navy ink handy, and I'm going to ink up my flowers first with Versamark and then into the Night of Navy, and then I'm going to make sure that's inked up well. Way up at the top, I'm going to set that down, and while I'm setting that down, I'm going to get 100% ready to, while that is wet, put clear embossing powder on it. And you see how it got kind of dull? It's got the clear embossing powder on it. So I was successful. Now I'm going to clean this off again. And it makes a little work to do it this way, but I think the result is so pretty. So I'm going to do the embossing powder, the Versamark here. And this time I'm going to add gold embossing powder to that image. There we go. All right. Now again, well, what I might do is just go ahead and put this one back down in Versamark as close to the bottom as I can get it. And then put my gold embossing powder back into that spot. There we go. And then, since this only has Versamark on it, then back into the blue to make sure I've got it good and covered. And I will put this piece in between those two. And then hurry quick, get that into the clear embossing powder. And there we go. I've got all of my flowers set down. So now I'm going to use my heat gun and I'll be right back. Okay, and there, that is how you get an embossed figure when you don't have embossing color for that particular color, because that is perfectly embossed navy and perfectly embossed gold by using clear on wet ink and using some Versamark. This is now done and I'm going to let that dry. The front of our card here, oh dear, I got some smudges on it. I'm going to go off camera and see if I can't get rid of those smudges. I'll be right back. Okay, using my sand eraser, I got most of it off. I've got a little shadow there, but I think that's going to be just fine. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is add this ribbon across the base of these vases. So I'm going to use my dot runner and lay down some snail on the back of this piece of ribbon. Oops, I'm not either. I'm going to use my seal because it's the dot runner won't stick to it. Okay. And let me get this down here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to trim off these fraying ends and I'm going to put down my ribbon right across my vases down here on the bottom of my card and secure those ends around the back of the card. There we go. Messy but effective. So there is my ribbon down on the card. Now then, I'm going to take my gold braid, and what I did was I just put some snail across the back of the ribbon here. One end of my gold braid to the back of this. Then I drew it across and then into that glue on the back, and I came around the card 3 times. So once, twice, and 3 times. And then secured this on the back. Seems plenty sticky to me. I'm going to go ahead and put this on my matting piece. Add some more snail on the back here. And add this right to here because I want to get that string down tight. Now I'm going to try and stick this down on my matting, my Night of Navy 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece, and there we go. Now I still have some stamping to do. Decided to do my stamping last in this case, and what I have is says such happy news. So this could be a congratulations for somebody or something along that line, or this could say happy birthday. It could say anything you'd like. In this case, it says such happy news, and I'm going to get that put down right down here at the bottom of my card. And now, other than the rhinestone elements, this one is ready to go on my card base. So I'm going to add my seal to the back of this. And add this to the front of my card. I suppose if I wanted to take it further, I could make these navy blue flowers here embossed like I did on the inside, but I think that's such a nice surprise for the inside that I think I'll just leave it. So now I need to mat this piece on the Night of Navy for the inside of the card. And then this piece is ready to go on the inside of our card. There we go. And that is our project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. And or you could join my team. Let's see. Let me just add these little bits of embellishments to my flowers, because you know a little bit of bling kind of finishes things off and completes a project. And let's see, there are bonus days in July, which means that for every $50 that you spend in July, you're going to get a coupon from Stampin' Up! For $5 to redeem in August. So, and in August is when the new catalog comes out for fall, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and it's a catalog that goes from August through the end of the year. And so it'd be fun to have a few coupons to apply to what you'd like to get out of that catalog. So there is my cards. Let me bring these back. So we have the ones that are the original single layer cards, which are the simple, and all the way to the Simply Stunning. And so there we have our cards for the day. And I do think I like this one in the darker blue. But that's it for me. My prize draw for the month is the bundle Birds and Branches. And all you have to do to get yourself in my drawing is to put an order of any size on my website, lbedinger.stampinup.net, or you can get to it through my blog, www.inkandingenuity.com. I'm a little behind on my blog, but it'll be caught up here in a week or so. So again, that's it for me. Again, thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye.